Never forgive these 9 betrayals. In relationships, dark Stoic psychology, Stoic life lessons. Your self-worth is not up for negotiation. Your dignity is not a favor to be granted. Your boundaries are not optional. Betrayal is never an accident. It's a conscious choice. And some betrayals cut so deep that no amount of apologies can undo the damage. Forgiveness is often seen as noble, but in some cases it becomes self-destruction. There are betrayals that should never be forgiven, because the cost of letting them slide is your own peace, self-respect, and sanity. Not all wounds should be healed. Some must serve as reminders, lessons that teach you who truly deserves a place in your life. Today we'll uncover 9 betrayals that, once committed, should mark the end of trust. These are the red lines that, if crossed, demand you walk away, because in the pursuit of a Stoic life, you must know when to stand firm and refuse to tolerate the intolerable. Stay with me. This lesson could change everything. 1. The fragility of trust. The trust of the innocent is the liar's most useful tool. Stephen King. Trust is fragile. More fragile than we often realize. It takes years to build, yet only a moment to shatter. It is the foundation of all meaningful relationships, an unspoken agreement that allows us to feel safe, to be vulnerable, and to invest in another person without hesitation. But trust is never broken by accident. It is always a choice. A lie is not just a misstep, it is a deliberate act of deception, a conscious betrayal of faith. And once that seed of deception is planted, it grows like poison, slowly corroding the very essence of any bond. When someone chooses to lie, they are not simply bending the truth, they are altering the entire reality of the relationship, manipulating perception and redefining the connection on their own terms. In doing so, they turn trust into an illusion. The problem is not just the lie itself. It is the intent behind it. A lie is never just words. It is an attempt to control, to mislead, to shift power in their favor. This is why continuous deception is so destructive. It is an attack on the very foundation of a relationship, leaving behind cracks that no apology, no justification, no explanation can truly repair. A single lie, in rare cases, may be forgiven, but habitual dishonesty is a pattern, not a mistake. And patterns do not change unless the liar has something real to lose. People rarely transform out of moral revelation. They change when the consequences of their deception outweigh the benefits. But in most cases, habitual liars do not fear consequences because they know that forgiveness is often given too easily. They thrive on second chances, on the willingness of others to overlook betrayal in the name of understanding, love, or hope. They take advantage of that leniency until there is nothing left to betray. By the time reality sets in, the damage is irreversible. A relationship built on repeated lies is like a house with a rotting foundation. No matter how much you patch it up, it will eventually collapse. And it is not a matter of if, but when. But here's what most people fail to see. Not all lies are spoken. Some of the most dangerous betrayals come in silence. Omission, half-truths, and carefully crafted narratives can be just as damaging as outright lies. When someone withholds crucial information, distorts reality just enough to mislead, or presents a version of the truth designed to manipulate, they are engaging in deception. The result is the same. Trust erodes, reality distorts, and the relationship begins to break down, often in ways that are difficult to see until it is too late. The most dangerous thing about silent lies is that they are harder to detect. You might not even realize you are being deceived because you believe you are seeing the full picture, when in reality you are only being shown what they want you to see. And when trust is based on what we want to believe rather than what we truly know, we become easy prey for those who have no intention of being honest. This type of betrayal is not limited to personal relationships. It happens everywhere. Look at social media. How often do people curate the perfect version of their lives, omitting their struggles, their failures, their flaws? How often do businesses present only the positive aspects of their products, carefully avoiding the fine print that reveals the downsides? How many politicians manipulate narratives, presenting half-truths designed to control public perception? The world thrives on selective truth, and many people have become experts at presenting just enough of the story to make it believable while hiding what truly matters. But here's the reality. If trust is built on partial truths, then it is never real trust to begin with. This is why Stoicism today teaches us to value honesty, not just from others, but from ourselves. A Stoic understands that truth, no matter how painful, is always better than a comforting lie. The more we embrace honesty in our own lives, the less we tolerate deception from others. And a high-value man does not waste time trying to fix relationships built on dishonesty. Win Stoic is about recognizing that real strength comes not from enduring what drains you, but from knowing when to walk away. Trust should never be given blindly. It should be earned through consistent honesty and integrity. And the moment someone proves through their actions that they do not value honesty, they have also proven that they do not value you. So let me ask you this. How many times have you ignored a betrayal because you wanted to believe in someone's words rather than their actions? How often have you chosen to give someone another chance, not because they deserved it, but because you were afraid of what it would mean if you didn't? The truth is, trust is not about words, it is about patterns. And if someone consistently shows you that honesty is not their priority, the most stoic thing you can do is walk away, because trust, once shattered, is rarely ever the same. And some betrayals should never be forgiven, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. 2. People lie for their own benefit. To be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved. George MacDonald. Trust is the backbone of all meaningful relationships, yet it is often taken for granted until it is broken. And one of the greatest betrayals of trust comes in the form of lies, not accidental but intentional. People do not lie out of carelessness. They lie with purpose, with strategy, with the intent to manipulate. Every lie is an act of control, a calculated move to avoid consequences, to shape reality in their favor, or to keep someone in the dark for their own benefit. A lie is not simply a distortion of facts, it is a power play. And the moment you forgive a lie without consequences, you teach the liar that deception is not only acceptable, but effective. This is why some people lie repeatedly. They know that as long as they can offer a convincing excuse, they can get away with it. But what is Stoicism if not the pursuit of truth? A Stoic does not live in illusions, nor do they allow themselves to be puppets in someone else's game. When deception becomes a pattern, when trust is consistently broken, it is not just a mistake, it is a form of control that should never be tolerated. The harsh reality is that most liars are not sorry for their actions. They are sorry they got caught. Their apologies are often rehearsed, carefully worded to minimize damage rather than express true remorse. A truly regretful person does not wait to be confronted. They come forward. They admit their wrongdoing because they value integrity over pride. But how often does that happen? Rarely do habitual liars voluntarily confess unless the weight of their deception becomes too great to bear, or unless they fear the consequences of exposure. And this is where many people fall into the trap of believing in false redemption. They hear an apology and mistake it for change. They see tears and assume sincerity. But a liar's regret is often temporary. It lasts only until they rebuild your trust enough to manipulate you again. A Stoic life lesson teaches that words are meaningless without action. If someone truly values your trust, they will protect it, not exploit it. And if they repeatedly choose deception over honesty, then they are not sorry. They are simply waiting for the next opportunity to do it again. In modern life, this kind of betrayal is everywhere, not just in personal relationships, but in business, politics, and even friendships. How many times have we seen public figures lie, only to apologize once exposed, acting as though regret washes away intent? How often do companies deceive customers, bending the truth just enough to increase sales, only to issue a half-hearted apology when caught? This is why a man who understands Stoic life lessons does not fall for mere words. He looks at patterns, consistency, and actions. Forgiving a lie is one thing, but tolerating repeated deception is self-betrayal. If someone lies to you once, they have shown their capability to deceive. If they lie to you twice, they have shown their willingness to do it again. The only question that remains is how much of yourself you are willing to compromise before you recognize the truth. What is Stoicism, if not the understanding that emotions must not dictate our reactions? A Stoic does not act impulsively, but rather assesses the situation with logic and reason. Was the lie a single lapse in judgment, or was it a pattern? Was it done out of fear, or was it a calculated act of manipulation? A person who lies to protect a surprise party is not the same as someone who lies to cover their betrayal. The key is discernment, understanding the difference between a mistake and a habit. But if deception becomes a pattern, if you find yourself constantly questioning the words of someone you are supposed to trust, then the most stoic decision is to walk away, not out of anger, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. Because trust, once broken, does not return to its original form, and a relationship without trust is no relationship at all. The hard truth is, people will treat you exactly as you allow them to. If you repeatedly forgive deception, you are not being noble, you are being played. A Stoic man understands that his peace of mind is worth more than the illusion of a relationship built on lies. He does not waste time hoping a liar will change. He recognizes the reality in front of him and acts accordingly, because in the end, the ability to see the truth, no matter how painful, is what separates the wise from the foolish. Betrayal is not just about the act of lying, it is about the realization that someone values control over honesty. And that is a betrayal that should never be forgiven. 3. The scars left by betrayal. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Betrayal is not just an act of dishonesty. It is a wound that cuts deep into the very foundation of trust, leaving scars that are often invisible yet painfully real. When trust is shattered, it does not merely affect your relationship with the one who betrayed you. It shakes your sense of security, distorts your confidence in your own judgment, and casts a shadow over every future connection you build. A single betrayal can make you question everything. Was I blind to the signs? Was I too naive? Can I ever trust again? And once these doubts take root, they can grow into an impenetrable wall of cynicism, making it harder to let people in. This is why betrayal is more than a moment of deception. It is a theft of peace, a silent attack on your ability to believe in others. The Stoic mindset teaches us to accept that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our response. So, do you allow betrayal to define you, or do you use it as a lesson in discernment, a call to strengthen your ability to recognize those who are unworthy of your trust? But betrayal does not always announce itself loudly. It often wears a disguise, creeping into relationships through something more insidious: disrespect. The danger of disrespect is that it rarely starts as an outright attack. Instead, it appears in subtle forms: sarcasm disguised as humor, dismissiveness hidden behind indifference, or mockery presented as playful teasing. A comment here, an eye roll there, a moment of condescension that makes you question yourself. These small acts accumulate like drops of water on stone, eroding your self-respect over time. What many people fail to recognize is that repeated disrespect is not just an annoyance, it is a psychological trap. The more it happens, the more you internalize it, and the more you begin to accept it as normal. And once you accept disrespect, you unknowingly lower your standards, training yourself to tolerate less than you deserve. High-value men do not tolerate consistent disrespect, not because they seek validation, but because they understand that self-respect is non-negotiable. Disrespect, like rust, spreads slowly, often unnoticed until the damage is severe. The more you allow it, the more it becomes a part of your reality, and over time, you might even forget what genuine respect feels like. You become so accustomed to dismissive behavior that you stop questioning it, and before you know it, you have built a life where you are constantly undermined, your voice is minimized, and your worth is ignored. But what is the true cost of staying in an environment that erodes your confidence? The truth is, the way people treat you is a reflection of what you allow. If you let someone belittle you repeatedly, they will see it as permission to continue. Being Stoic is not about reacting with anger or revenge. It is about having the strength to walk away when your dignity is being compromised. So, the real question is, how much are you willing to tolerate before you realize that your self-respect is worth more than the illusion of a relationship? This is the invisible trap of disrespect. It does not always scream, but it quietly reshapes your reality. And the longer you stay in a situation where you are disrespected, the harder it becomes to leave. This is why Stoic life lessons emphasize awareness and boundaries. A man who understands his worth does not need loud confrontations to prove a point. He simply refuses to engage in relationships that drain him. He does not beg for respect. He commands it through his actions, his standards, and his ability to remove himself from situations that diminish him. How much of your peace are you willing to sacrifice for the sake of maintaining a relationship that does not serve you? The Stoic mindset is not about being cold or detached. It is about being unshakable in your principles, refusing to bend for those who do not value you. Betrayal and disrespect should not be forgiven when they become patterns, because to forgive without consequence is to invite more of the same. Being Stoic is about understanding that self-respect is not arrogance. It is the foundation of a life lived with purpose, clarity, and strength. Never tolerate what slowly destroys you, because in the end, the greatest betrayal is the one you commit against yourself by staying where you do not belong. 4. Respect is not a request, it's the minimum. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. Respect is not something that should ever be requested, begged for, or negotiated. It is the bare minimum in any relationship, the foundation upon which all meaningful connections are built. The moment you find yourself explaining why you deserve respect, you have already lost. True respect does not require teaching, because it is a reflection of a person's character, not a reaction to your demands. If someone genuinely values you, they will treat you with dignity, not because you force them to, but because it is their natural inclination. But here is the harsh truth. If someone disrespects you once, and you overlook it, you have silently given them permission to do it again. They now know that there are no consequences for their actions, and with time, that small act of disrespect turns into a pattern, a habit, and eventually a dynamic where you are no longer an equal, but someone who tolerates mistreatment under the illusion of love, friendship, or loyalty. The cost of staying in a relationship where respect is absent is far greater than most people realize. It does not just affect how others see you, it rewires how you see yourself. Over time, constant disrespect conditions you to believe that you do not deserve more, that being belittled, ignored, or undervalued is just a part of life. It dulls your ability to stand up for yourself, making you question whether you are overreacting, being too sensitive, or expecting too much. This is how people find themselves trapped in toxic relationships for years, not because they enjoy suffering, but because they have slowly been trained to accept it as normal. This is where Stoicism today becomes crucial, because a Stoic understands that suffering in silence is not a virtue. Endurance is only noble when it serves a purpose, not when it diminishes your sense of self. If you stay in a situation where respect is repeatedly denied, you are not being strong. You are allowing your value to be diminished, and in doing so, you betray yourself more than anyone else ever could. Modern life is full of stories of people who settled for less than they deserved, believing that things would change if they just gave it more time, more effort, more patience. The man who stays in a relationship where his partner constantly belittles him, making jokes at his expense in front of others, dismissing his thoughts, or treating his efforts as insignificant. At first it seems small, just a sarcastic remark here, a dismissive response there. But over time, he starts to doubt himself, to shrink in his own life, to feel as though his opinions do not matter. He convinces himself that it is just their personality, that they do not really mean harm, that maybe he is too sensitive. And so he stays. And what happens? The disrespect continues, because the other person has learned that there are no real consequences for treating him this way. The longer he stays, the harder it becomes to leave, because now his self-worth is entangled with the very person who is tearing it down. This is not love, nor is it companionship. It is a slow form of self-destruction. And it is not just romantic relationships. This dynamic plays out in friendships, in workplaces, even in families. How many times have you tolerated someone's condescending tone, their dismissive attitude, their backhanded compliments, simply because you did not want to cause conflict? How often have you swallowed your pride, ignored the sting of disrespect, and convinced yourself that it was not worth making a big deal out of? But here is the real question. How many times have you regretted not speaking up? How many moments have passed where you wished you had walked away sooner, drawn the line earlier, refused to be treated as anything less than you deserve? Respect is not something you demand, it is something you embody. And when someone consistently fails to show it, the most stoic thing you can do is remove yourself from the equation. Because the truth is, the longer you tolerate a disrespectful relationship, the harder it becomes to leave. Not because you do not want to, but because you start to believe that you cannot. It is like a slow erosion of your willpower. Each moment of tolerated disrespect chips away at your sense of self, until one day you wake up and realize that you have become someone who makes excuses for mistreatment rather than demands better. And this is why Stoic happiness is not found in enduring what drains you, but in having the wisdom to walk away from what no longer serves you. High-value men do not explain their worth. They live in a way that commands respect. They do not beg for it, they do not tolerate its absence, and they certainly do not stay in places where they are not valued. So, the real question is, how much more time are you willing to waste on people who do not respect you? The moment you decide that you are worth more is the moment your life begins to change. Not because you seek validation, but because you finally understand that self-respect is not negotiable. Respect is not negotiable. Either it's given freely or you walk away. Comment below, self-respect first if you know your worth and refuse to tolerate disrespect. Let's see how many of you are committed to this mindset. 5. The trap of forgiveness. While we wait for life, life passes. Seneca. Forgiveness is often praised as the ultimate virtue, a sign of strength, wisdom, and emotional maturity. We are told that to forgive is to free ourselves, to move on, to release the weight of the past. But what if I told you that not all forgiveness is noble? What if some forgiveness is nothing more than self-betrayal disguised as virtue? The truth is, forgiveness does not erase betrayal. It only shifts the burden from the betrayer to the victim. When you forgive someone who has deceived, disrespected, or broken you without true remorse, you are not achieving closure. You are simply relieving them of their guilt while carrying the consequences of their actions yourself. Many people seek forgiveness, not because they truly regret what they did, but because they cannot handle the discomfort of being held accountable. They apologize, not to right their wrongs, but to reset the situation back in their favor. They want to feel absolved, to wipe the slate clean, to escape the discomfort of their own actions. But what is Stoicism if not the understanding that reality cannot be altered by words alone? A Stoic does not live in illusions, nor do they allow themselves to be manipulated by the false comfort of easy forgiveness. The modern world romanticizes forgiveness, treating it as a moral obligation rather than a choice. But here's the harsh reality. Some people do not deserve forgiveness, and offering it to them only reinforces their belief that betrayal has no real consequences. When you forgive too easily, you do not heal, you invite more harm. You send the message that your pain is negotiable, that your boundaries are flexible, and that there are no real stakes for mistreating you. And so the cycle continues. The person who betrayed you learns that all they need to do is offer empty words, shed a few well-timed tears, and wait for your soft heart to let them back in. And before long, they betray you again. Because why wouldn't they? You have already shown them that forgiveness is easy to obtain. This is why Stoic life lessons teach that peace is not found in blind forgiveness, but in discernment, knowing who is worthy of a second chance and who must be cut off completely. The highest form of self-respect is recognizing when someone has disrespected you beyond repair. Applies to relationships, friendships, business, and even family. How many times have you watched someone apologize for the same mistake over and over again? How often have you given someone another chance, only to be disappointed in the exact same way? Think of the man who repeatedly forgives his unfaithful partner, convinced that this time things will be different. Or the friend who continually betrays his trust, always offering excuses, but never changing his behavior. Or the colleague who undermines him in meetings, then plays innocent when confronted. Each time, forgiveness is granted, and each time, the pattern repeats itself. Why? Because forgiveness, when undeserved, does not transform people. It enables them. It allows them to continue their actions without consequences, reinforcing the belief that their betrayals are minor, temporary inconveniences, rather than true breaches of trust. What is Stoicism, if not the understanding that actions speak louder than words? If someone repeatedly violates your trust, their apologies mean nothing. Only change matters, and if change does not come, forgiveness is not a virtue, it is a weakness. There is a reason why Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus emphasized self-mastery, resilience, and logical thinking over emotional impulse. A Stoic does not react blindly to societal expectations. He evaluates reality as it is, and the reality is this: some betrayals should never be forgiven, not out of bitterness, but out of self-respect. High-value men do not waste energy trying to rehabilitate those who have already shown their true colors. They do not allow guilt to dictate their boundaries, nor do they tolerate repeated disrespect under the illusion of reconciliation. Forgiveness, when given to the undeserving, does not make you noble, it makes you vulnerable. Your peace matters more than their guilt, and the most powerful move you can make is to withhold forgiveness from those who have proven they do not deserve it. Because in the end, the greatest betrayal is the one you commit against yourself by allowing someone to hurt you twice. 6. The cost of allowing the wrong people to stay. A harm is not diminished by being forgiven, nor is a wound healed by pretending it does not exist. Seneca. There is a dangerous myth that high-value men must be endlessly forgiving, that to be wise and mature means always giving second chances, always seeing the best in people, always making room for those who have done them wrong. But here's the hard truth. Every second chance you grant a betrayer is a lesson not for them, but for you. And the lesson is this: your pain is negotiable, your boundaries are flexible, and your self-respect is optional. A man with a Stoic mindset understands that letting the wrong people stay in his life is a form of slow self-destruction. Every time you allow someone who has hurt you back into your life without consequence, you are teaching them that their actions carry no real weight. They do not suddenly learn respect or develop a newfound appreciation for your kindness. Instead, they learn how to manipulate better, how to make their apologies sound more sincere, how to fine-tune their deception so that next time you question yourself instead of them. The greatest mistake you can make is believing that someone who has shown you their true nature will change simply because you want them to. In modern relationships, this cycle plays out constantly. A man forgives a cheating partner, convinced that their tears and promises of change are real. A friend betrays his trust, but insists it was just a momentary lapse in judgment. A business partner lies but pleads for another opportunity, assuring that it will never happen again. And time after time, the result is the same. The betrayer, having faced no real consequences, repeats their actions, and the one who forgave them is left feeling foolish, drained, and betrayed once again. Stoic teaches that true wisdom is not in blind forgiveness, but in discernment, knowing who is worthy of your time and who has forfeited their place in your life. The reality is that unconditional forgiveness is not a virtue, it is a liability. It is a myth that has been sold to people who are too afraid to enforce boundaries, too afraid to lose relationships, too afraid to be alone. There is strength in walking away. There is power in saying no more. Not every wound can heal, and not every relationship is worth saving. A high-value man does not allow history, emotions, or guilt to override logic and self-respect. The past does not entitle someone to a place in your future, and nostalgia is not a reason to hold on to something that no longer serves you. The idea that love, friendship, or loyalty means endless tolerance is false. Real love, real friendship, and real loyalty are built on mutual respect, and when that respect is broken, it cannot always be repaired. Have you ever noticed how people treat those who tolerate everything? They do not admire them. They do not value them. They use them. They see them as weak, as predictable, as easy to manipulate. The person who forgives endlessly is not respected. They are pitied. Stoicism today is not about hardening yourself to the world, but about developing the strength to walk away from those who take advantage of you. It is about valuing your own peace over the comfort of others. The most powerful thing a man can do is enforce his own worth, not by words, but by action. When someone shows you who they are through betrayal, through deceit, through disrespect, believe them. Do not negotiate with your pain. Do not make excuses for why someone deserves yet another opportunity, because in the end, the real cost of allowing the wrong people to stay is not just another betrayal. It is the slow erosion of your own self-respect, and that is a price no man should ever pay. 7. The hard truth about betrayal. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. Betrayal is one of the deepest wounds a person can experience, not because of the act itself, but because of what it does to the mind. It shakes your sense of reality, making you question everything, your worth, your judgment, your ability to trust again. But here is the hard truth that many refuse to accept. Betrayal is not a reflection of you, it is a reflection of them. It is not about your shortcomings, your failures, or whether you were good enough. It is about their inability to be honest, their lack of integrity, their failure to uphold loyalty. The moment you start taking betrayal personally, you give power to the very people who deceived you. A Stoic mindset teaches that external events are beyond our control, but our response to them is not. And if you let betrayal define you, if you let it weaken you, then you are handing over control of your happiness to those who never deserved it in the first place. Yet, the most dangerous betrayers are not just those who lie, but those who expect you to believe their lies, even after they have been exposed. How many times have you caught someone in their deception, only for them to twist the story, shift the blame, or even make you feel guilty for questioning them? This is the mark of someone who is not remorseful for their actions, only regretful that they got caught. They do not value you, they value the benefits they get from being in your life. And that is why high-value men do not waste time deciphering apologies filled with excuses and manipulation. A person who truly respects you does not betray you in the first place, because betrayal is not a mistake. It is a choice. What does it say about someone who, when given the option to be honest, consistently chooses deceit? What does it say about someone who disregards the trust placed in them for their own selfish gain? The answer is clear. They do not deserve a place in your life. But perhaps the most deceptive form of betrayal comes from those who use kindness as a weapon. There are people who see your compassion not as something to be valued, but as something to be exploited. They take your ability to forgive as permission to betray again, and the cycle continues. You offer understanding, they take advantage. You give them another chance, they see it as confirmation that they can do whatever they want without real consequences. They will use guilt to keep you in their grasp, twisting the situation to make it seem as though you are the one being unreasonable, too harsh, too unforgiving. But ask yourself, what has your kindness gotten you with people like this? Has it changed them? Has it made them respect you more? Or has it simply given them the freedom to continue their deception without fear of losing you? Stoicism today teaches that kindness is a virtue, but it must be given wisely. There is nothing virtuous about allowing someone to use you. Strength is not in how much betrayal you can endure, it is in knowing when to walk away. In life, we see this everywhere. The man who stays in a toxic relationship because he believes his loyalty will eventually change her behavior. The employee who keeps tolerating a disrespectful boss, thinking that hard work and patience will earn them better treatment. The friend who constantly forgives betrayal, hoping that one day the loyalty will be reciprocated. But what happens? More disrespect, more deception, more broken trust. The truth is, people do not change unless they are forced to face the consequences of their actions. If someone sees that they can lie, manipulate, or betray you and still keep their place in your life, why would they ever stop? This is why Win Stoic is about action, not just philosophy. It is about setting boundaries so strong that people either rise to meet them or remove themselves. A Stoic mindset does not mean being emotionless. It means refusing to let emotions cloud judgment. If someone has betrayed you once, that is on them. If they betray you twice, that is on you for allowing them the opportunity. How much of your own peace have you sacrificed trying to prove that you are understanding and forgiving? At what point does your kindness become self-betrayal? The greatest lesson a man can learn is that not everyone deserves access to him. Your time, your energy, and your peace are not things to be handed out freely to those who have already shown you that they do not value them. Forgiveness is not always noble. Sometimes it is just an open invitation for more pain. And in the end, the worst betrayal is the one you commit against yourself by allowing the wrong people to stay. 8. Walking away is not weakness, it's power. Society has long taught men that walking away is weakness, that real strength lies in endurance, in sticking things out, in proving loyalty, even in the face of repeated betrayal. But what if this idea is not wisdom, but conditioning? What if staying in a toxic relationship is not an act of strength, but an act of self-sacrifice? The truth is, enduring endless betrayal is not nobility, it is self-destruction. There is no honor in repeatedly forgiving someone who has shown no intention of changing. There is no virtue in tolerating mistreatment under the guise of love, friendship, or commitment. Stoic life lessons teach that true loyalty is not about how much pain you can endure, but about recognizing when a situation no longer serves your growth. A man who values himself does not waste time justifying why someone deserves another chance. He does not rationalize why he should remain in an environment that chips away at his self-respect. What is Stoicism, if not the ability to see things as they are, rather than as we wish them to be? And the reality is, staying in a toxic situation does not make you strong. It makes you complicit in your own suffering. Modern life is filled with examples of men who stay too long in relationships, whether romantic, platonic, or professional, under the false belief that endurance is synonymous with commitment. Think of the man who remains in a loveless marriage because he believes that walking away means he has failed. Or the friend who continues to invest in a one-sided relationship where he is always the one reaching out, always the one apologizing, always the one compromising. Or the employee who stays in a job where he is undervalued and disrespected because he fears the uncertainty of leaving. The world has convinced men that suffering in silence is a badge of honor, that tolerating betrayal and mistreatment somehow proves resilience. But a Stoic mindset teaches the opposite. Win Stoic is about choosing yourself over the illusion of loyalty. It is about understanding that real strength is knowing when to walk away. There is nothing noble about allowing someone to repeatedly betray your trust, undermine your worth, and drain your energy. The right people, the ones who truly respect and value you, will never put you in a position where you have to sacrifice your dignity just to keep them in your life. But many men stay in toxic relationships because they fear being alone. They convince themselves that if they leave, they will regret it, that they will never find someone else, that the pain of staying is somehow easier than the pain of walking away. This is the most dangerous trap of all. The Stoic life lessons passed down from great thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca remind us that solitude is far superior to being surrounded by people who do not respect you. The right people, the ones who genuinely care, do not disappear when life gets hard. They do not betray, manipulate, or take advantage of your kindness. Love, in any form, should never come at the cost of your self-worth. If a relationship demands that you endure consistent disrespect, neglect, or deception in the name of love, then it is not love, it is control. And if you continue to stay, you are not being strong. You are allowing yourself to be weakened. The most powerful thing a man can do is set a standard and enforce it. Walking away is not failure, it is proof that you have finally realized your own worth. High-value men do not beg for respect, and they do not tolerate betrayal disguised as love. Stoicism today is about understanding that you do not need permission to leave a situation that is draining your soul. Strength is not measured by how much you can endure, but by your ability to recognize when enough is enough. The moment you walk away from what no longer serves you is the moment you reclaim your power. 9. The final decision. Choose yourself. Life is too short to waste on people who betray your trust, disregard your worth, and treat you as an afterthought. Yet, so many men hold on to relationships, friendships, and business partnerships that no longer serve them, believing that forgiveness is always the right path. But the truth is, forgiveness is a privilege, not a right. Not everyone deserves it. Some betrayals cut so deeply that to forgive would not be an act of virtue, but an act of self-betrayal. Some wounds should never be erased, nor should they be forgotten, because they serve as lessons, reminders of who people truly are beneath their words and empty promises. A Stoic mindset teaches that while we cannot control the actions of others, we can control our response. And the most powerful response to betrayal is not revenge, not anger, not even forgiveness. It is the unwavering decision to walk away and never look back. But too many men fall into the trap of explaining, reasoning, and justifying why they deserve better, as if the betrayer does not already know. Here's the reality. People know exactly what they are doing when they betray you. They know they are lying. They know they are disrespecting you. They know they are prioritizing themselves over the relationship, and yet they choose to do it anyway. So why waste your time trying to make them understand something they already know? High-value men do not beg for respect. They do not negotiate their worth. They do not teach grown adults how to treat them, because they understand that anyone who genuinely values them will already act accordingly. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, it is not because they did not understand, it is because they do not care. The moment you stop explaining, stop giving second chances, stop rationalizing why someone deserves to stay in your life despite their actions, is the moment you take back your power. Win Stoic is about setting a standard and enforcing it, without apology, without hesitation. And when you walk away, do so with absolute conviction. Do not linger, do not second guess, do not look for closure where there is none, because the truth is, closure is a myth. It is just another excuse to hold on to something that should have already ended. Betrayal is closure. Repeated deception is closure. The very act that caused you pain is all the proof you need that this person does not deserve a place in your life. Your time, your energy, your peace. These are not things to be handed out to those who have shown you they cannot be trusted. Your life is too valuable to be wasted on those who treat you as an option. The moment you fully realize your worth, something incredible happens. The wrong people disappear and the right ones stay. You will no longer have to fight for respect, because those who truly respect you will give it freely. You will no longer have to chase love, because real love does not demand suffering in return. You will no longer tolerate mediocrity, because you will have finally understood that the greatest investment you can ever make is in yourself. The final decision is yours. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your self-respect. Because in the end, the only person who has to live with the choices you make is you. And a Stoic mindset does not dwell on the past, nor does it wait for people to become something they are not. It moves forward, unshaken, unaffected, and untethered to anything that does not serve a man's highest self. Walk away and never look back. Thank you for being part of today's video. Your presence here shows that you are committed to self-growth and mastering the Stoic mindset. Let's keep this conversation going. Drop a comment below and let us know. I'm new here if you're just starting this journey, or Stoic Strong if you've been applying these principles in your life. Your insights and engagement make this community stronger. Don't forget to like, subscribe to Win Stoic, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next video. Stay disciplined, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next one. 10. Why some betrayals can never be forgiven. Betrayal is a wound that cuts deep, not just in the moment it happens, but in the way it lingers, reshaping how you trust, how you see others, and most importantly, how you see yourself. It is not just an act of deception, it is a violation of something sacred. The trust you placed in someone who turned it into a weapon against you. And yet, many are told that forgiveness is always the answer, that to be strong is to move past it, to let go, to give the betrayer another chance. But some betrayals should never be forgiven, because to do so is not an act of healing, it is an invitation for further pain. True strength is not found in tolerating betrayal, but in having the wisdom to walk away before it destroys you. Many betrayals do not happen by accident. They are calculated decisions. Lies, manipulation, disrespect, infidelity, broken trust. These are not mistakes, they are choices. When someone betrays you, they are not testing your strength or challenging your forgiveness. They are revealing who they truly are. And that is the real question. What does it say about a person who can betray you and still expect your forgiveness? It means they do not value you. It means they do not fear losing you. It means they have weighed the risk of hurting you and decided that their selfish desires were more important than your trust. Why would you ever give that person another opportunity? But the real danger is not just in the betrayal itself. It is in what happens after. Every time you excuse someone's betrayal, you teach them a lesson. But not the lesson you think. They do not learn respect. They learn that there are no real consequences for their actions. They learn how to manipulate you better, how to make their apologies more convincing, how to make you feel guilty for even considering walking away. They learn that your boundaries are flexible, that your pain is negotiable, that as long as they say the right words, you will stay. And each time you stay, you lose a little more of yourself, your peace, your self-respect, your ability to trust your own judgment. Forgiving the wrong person is not kindness, it is self-destruction. Betrayers do not fear losing you, they fear losing their control over you. This is why they will do anything to convince you to forgive. They will manipulate you, they will gaslight you, they will make you feel as if you are the one who is being too harsh. Have you ever noticed how quickly a betrayer can shift from apologetic to defensive? One moment they are begging for another chance, swearing it will never happen again. The next, they are accusing you of being unreasonable, of holding on to the past, of being too cold-hearted. They are not sorry for what they did. They are sorry they got caught. They do not change when they are forgiven. They change only when they are forced to face consequences. How many times has a liar truly stopped lying? How many times has a manipulator suddenly become honest? How many times has a serial cheater suddenly decided to be loyal? The answer is almost never. And if you keep forgiving them, you are not giving them a second chance, you are giving them more time to perfect their betrayal. A high-value man understands that respect, trust, and loyalty are non-negotiable. He does not beg for respect. He does not waste time explaining his worth to those who refuse to see it. He does not teach grown adults how to treat him, because he understands that those who truly value him will already know. A man with a stoic mindset knows that walking away is not weakness. It is power. It is not revenge. It is self-preservation. The moment you allow someone to repeatedly betray you, you are telling them, "You can hurt me and I will still stay." That is not love. That is self-betrayal. Being stoic is about understanding that self-respect is not up for negotiation. If someone does not value you, they do not deserve access to you. But what is Stoicism's view on betrayal? Stoicism today teaches that while we should not react emotionally to betrayal, that does not mean we should tolerate it. A Stoic does not waste time trying to change people who have already shown their true nature. Instead, he accepts reality for what it is, adjusts his expectations accordingly, and removes those who prove themselves unworthy. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy, as Marcus Aurelius once said. That means you do not stoop to their level, you do not seek to hurt them back, you simply remove them from your life. No anger, no drama, no seeking closure, just pure, unshakable self-respect. There are 9 betrayals you should never forgive, and they go beyond simple mistakes. If someone repeatedly lies, cheats, disrespects, manipulates, or betrays your trust, it is not a moment of weakness. It is a pattern of behavior. A Stoic mindset teaches that you do not waste time arguing with reality. There is no fixing them, no saving the relationship, no changing someone who refuses to change themselves. The only thing left to do is to protect your peace and move forward without them. So, ask yourself, how many times have you excused the inexcusable? How many times have you looked past betrayal, hoping things would change, that they would change? And how much of your own happiness have you sacrificed for the sake of people who never once hesitated to betray you? The final decision is yours. Choose yourself, choose your peace, choose your self-respect, because in the end, the only person who has to live with the choices you make is you. And a true Stoic does not dwell on the past, nor does he wait for people to become something they are not. He moves forward, unshaken, unaffected, and untethered to anything that does not serve his highest self. Walk away and never look back. And that's the hard truth. True strength isn't in holding on, it's in knowing when to walk away. The wrong people will take as much as you allow them to, draining your energy, testing your patience, and pushing your limits, all while offering nothing in return. But the right people? They will never make you question their loyalty. They will respect you, value you, and treat you with the dignity you deserve, not because you demanded it, but because they genuinely see your worth. Never waste your time trying to convince someone of your value. Those who truly recognize it won't need convincing.